Good morning. We've got a bit of doll crochet today. As you can see, I do actually have two dolls on the table because I always say I'm making a smart doll hat, which I am most of the time because I make them for my smart dolls and for other smart doll owners. But I did want to point out, like myself, there's a lot of you have got more than one type of doll. So I've got my smart doll obviously here. I've got Shitozi in her little bobble hat, but I've also got, this is a doll from the Pullip range. She's not Pullip, she is called Hannah. I've called her Hannah, that's the only reason she's got that name, but she's a doll, D-A-L. I hope I've got that right because I've got a bio, I'm probably pronouncing that wrong as well, but I've also got this one, I'm sure she's the doll. But I just wanted to point out the hats do fit a variety of dolls. In fact, I have a tape measure here. I'm just going to take this one off Shitozi. She's got a bit of hat hair now, and we're going to just pop this around her head. Obviously it depends on their hair as well, but if we measure around, can you see we have approximately, with wig this is, we have approximately 9 inches. Most of these hats will fit anything between 8.5 to 9.5. Because they are crocheted, they do have quite a stretch to them, and also it doesn't matter if they sort of just fit comfortably rather than tight, so that sort of fits quite nicely there. And obviously it depends on your tension, so that's something you do need to watch out for as well. But I just thought I'd show you, both girls are wearing exactly the same hat and it does fit both of these. Absolutely love this yarn. This is I'm going to have a lot of thinks this morning, aren't I? I'm sure this is the, I think it's the James Brett Sparkle one. It is a baby sparkle though, so do watch out for that. But it is a double knit yarn. I'm going to move the two dolls to one side. We'll pinch one of the hats. We'll take Shitozi's, I think, because Hannah's hair takes a little bit more management. As you can see, she's got the most amazing hair. But it was right down to here, and I had to cut it because of the state it got into, because even though I wasn't touching her, it was still getting a bit sort of, I don't know, a bit nasty. So, but I actually quite like it short. I think it sort of suits her like that, so I'm going to move her as well. Let's have a look. And this is the hat. Looks like a little tea cozy like that, doesn't it? It is very simple to do. A little bit of sort of tedious perhaps watching me on this bit because a lot of repeating rows. It's dealing with a rib in crochet, which a lot of people don't think exists, but I have done rib for others. But I think this is I don't know whether this is the first time. I think I've done it on an edge for a hat, doll hat, but I don't think I've done the whole thing. And we've got a little pom-pom on there just to finish it. I think the wool, and quite often the wool you choose, does make or break a design as well. So you could have a really plain one to go with fancier clothes, or if she's wearing sort of simpler colours. That's why I chose these two, because they've got whitish hair and I just thought it looked quite nice against their hair colour. So that is the hat we are making, and this is the yarn. We have a 3mm hook. I have a pom-pom maker. If you don't have one of these, there are different ways of making pom-poms. That's not a problem. This is a clover pom-pom maker and I absolutely love it. I have my needles, my tiny weeny Ernest stitch marker there. I think I've mentioned before, this was a drawing that my daughter did, my adult daughter that is, and then we went on and ultimately got them made as little charms. So she did a range for me, so I'm after her doing some more actually. And I have my scissors, so we're going to just get on. We're going to get on. It is quite simple, but as I say, it does take a little bit of time going down this rib section. So let us get on with this. It's going to start like an amigurumi sort of object. So we've done that thousands of times. And if you haven't, have a quick look on my basic amigurumi. It will help you do it. But I do think it is a marvellous thing. I think it's it's how I learnt to crochet. I didn't start traditional crochet. I started with amigurumi and I absolutely love it. So we got our slip knot on the hook. We're going to do 2 chain, and into the first chain we're going to do 6 double crochets. Remember, I'm working in UK terms here. So we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 and 6. Now into that 6 we're going to do 2 in every single one to give us 12. So there's our first one, and we're going to do 2 in every single one of the stitches. So that's our first one with 2, second one with 2, third one, oh, we're about to do a colour change, fourth one, the beauty of variegated yarn, it always keeps you interested, fifth one, and just one more, number 6. So we now have 12 stitches there. We're going to do that again because we want 24. Now this is the bit that's under the pom-pom, so it doesn't matter that this is flat and that it isn't actually the rib section. So again, 2 in each, which will give us 24 stitches. So that's our first one. So we've got 2 in 12. Our second one, number 3, 2 in number 4, number 5, number 6, number 7, 8, we're over halfway now. Just pull that yarn out a little bit, that was 8, wasn't it? 9, 10, 11 and 12. So that gives us 24 stitches. I'm not going to worry too much about the stitch marker at the moment. It's up to you whether you use it at certain points. I've got it there because just to mark out a point to show you. I wouldn't really use a stitch marker when I'm doing this. Right, the next thing we're going to do is we're going to be moving into trebles. I've got my pattern sat next to me that I've written out, and so it will be available this afternoon on my website as well to buy. So let me double check, up to 24, that is right. We're now going to be moving into treble stitches. All you really need to know, I know it looks like it's a rib, so it's a bit more fancy. It's not. They are just trebles. It's just where you position them, and that's what I will show you in a few moments. So first of all, I'm going to slip stitch into that next stitch because that's going to be the start of my trebles. So that means I've got to do 3 chain. Now into the base of that, can you see how it makes a hole just below? Can you see that little hole there? I'm going to do another treble in there because I want 2 trebles into every single stitch. So we're still increasing. Will give us 48 stitches. So 2 trebles. Remember, with a treble we're wrapping round first. In, pull it through, pull through 2, pull through 2. And at least they're easy to count if you lose count, because you can see the actual individual posts. So off we go. We've got another colour change. We're back to a pink, aren't we now? I don't know, I mean, I'm not generally a pink person, but I just love how these sort of blend together. I just think it's, I don't know, very magical looking thing, you know. You can imagine unicorns and things like that with it, or candies and things like that. Candies, sweets. Yes, they're looking good. It does wave, it goes a little bit wavy here, so don't worry about that because it will flatten out. It's just because we're doing a lot of increases in quite a small space, whereas normally if it was just a sort of a straight one, not with ribs, we would sort of take this a little bit slower. We wouldn't increase quite as fast as this. I know I do see pictures on the Smardoll and people do tag me when they've made the hats, which is brilliant. So if you do it, please tag me either on Instagram or sort of send me a message on Facebook if you're sort of on my Facebook, or I do have my business Facebook as well, so you can still send me messages through that. I absolutely love seeing that people have made my hats. And also what I'd like to see is there's maybe some that are not on Smardoll. I think that would be nice, because as I said, they do fit other dolls. It's just that Smardoll is my main one, and I'm mainly in Smardoll groups. That is why I cover the Smardoll area more than anything else. Can you see how it's going wibbly wobbly? Yep, don't worry about it. It's okay to do that. But I know when you're first doing it, you think, oh, it should be flat. I don't want you sort of worrying, that's why I've mentioned it. We're almost there. We'll change colour again. Got a really nice filament sparkle through this one as well. Oh, I'm terrible for sparkly yarn. It's my weakness if I go anywhere and I see a ball of sparkly yarn. We've got a couple more to do, and then I'm going to show you the rib. You may already know how to do this, so please be patient with me if you do, because I'm going to have to slow down quite considerably to make sure people can see and understand what I'm doing. Now, if you've done it before, you know as soon as you get going, it's easy, but that first stage, it's like you're not sure where to put the hook, and on a certain one of them, it's awkward to put the hook in. Oh, look at that last stitch, and I nearly dropped it. In there. So let's double check, because sometimes there's one in between you've missed, but there isn't. So I'm going to do a slip stitch into the top of that first 3 chain. So that is my setting off point. My yarn split a little bit there. Have I got it through? Yep, that's okay. So as I said, each round will start with 3 chain. It is counted as one of your trebles. So we've got 1, 2 and 3. Now that will be the back of the hat. The reason I'm saying that, if you sort of turn this round, you can see all even, and then you'll see there's a slight line just down there. So that is the back of the hat. Sometimes that's unavoidable depending on sort of what your stitching's like, but so just try and keep it as neat as you can. So here we go. These are front post and back post trebles. I called these the wrong stitch the other day when I was doing one of my other items, but I did put a note to sort of please note that's not what it is. It's a front or back post treble, but I suspect it's probably got other names. That's what I'm calling it here in the UK, but it could have another name somewhere else. Now it is a treble, that is all it is. So you can see where the posts are. Can you see each individual post? So instead of going into the top of the stitches, we're going to go round these posts. So we'll find our first one, which is this one here, and I'm going to wrap my yarn round because I said it is a treble. Now I can't make up my mind whether I should call this a front or a back. I've seen different versions. I did a little bit of research, and from what I could see, what I was doing was correct. But apologies if it should be the reverse thing, but it's still the same stitch. So here's our post. Now for me, if it's going to be a front post, it means I'm coming in from the front, round the back of it. I grab the yarn, pull it through. We've got 3 on the hook for like as a treble, and we go through 1 and we go through 2, and that is it. It sticks out the front post one more than the back post. Right, now the back, we've got to alternate these, so it's got to be front back, front back. We're going to go round again, but this time I'm coming from the back over the front. I usually squeeze mine together a bit here because I find it easier to hold. I'm going to grab the yarn, pull it through, it sometimes catches this one, and then pull it through 2 and pull it through 2. So that's 1 front and 1 back. So we're going to go with the front again. Yarn around. I go from the front round the back of it, so you can see where it is. Grab it, pull it through, pull through 2, pull through 2. So that's our second one. We're now going back, so yarn round from the back around the front. I just pinch it to help, pull it through 2, through 2. I'm going to see if I can get that a little bit closer for you. I don't want it to blur. If you go too close, it blurs, doesn't it? Let's see if it'll stabilize. Right, so front post, yarn round from the front, round the back of the post, grab the yarn, pull it through, and pull it through. Back post, I think the back post is the hardest. Yarn around from the back over the front, pull it through, that's where it can catch, through 2, through 2. Okay, so you can see the ribs starting to come. This first round is the hardest because you're having to go from flat to your first rib. After you've done that, you can see where you're going to be going, and particularly the front ones, they become so much easier. So yarn round, we have a front, which means I'm going from the front, I go round the back, pull it through, and pull it through. Back, from the back, round the front. And 2 and 2. So we can go a little bit quicker now. If you know what you're doing, you just sort of potter on and either sort of pause me or wait for me at the other end. If you're a little bit unsure, it might be worth sort of pausing and sort of stopping, having another sort of rewind a little bit, have another little go until you're happy with it. But just remember they're alternate. You can see if you've gone wrong. because if you spread them out, can you see sort of one dips in and one sticks out? So if you've suddenly got two together, so if I push those together and there was two like that, you know you've done two of the same. So you need to be alternating. So I know I've just done a front, so I'm going to do a back next. Now this is just the one stitch. There's no more increasing, nothing. It's just going to be these stitches. So alternating front and back. From the front, from the back. You'll see it starting to, oh look, I've missed a stitch. So if you suddenly get two on that, that means you've not wrapped it properly. So, or you've dropped it somewhere. So wrap round back and pick it up. Around the front, or should I say from the front? I think from the front makes more sense, doesn't it? From the front and round the back is our front. From the back round the front, of course that's complicated, like saying it like that, isn't it? But if we just go from the front is your front, from the back is the back, and just try and remember it like that. Oh, nearly gone. Let's just undo that a bit because it's going to start rolling round, isn't it? Right, where were we? So that was a back, so this is a front. It is a little time consuming, I think, a rib, but I think it creates such a lovely effect that I think it's well worth that little bit of patience. And if I keep dropping it, it's going to take longer, isn't it? Right, so that's a from the front and that's a from the back. Oh, again, look, I've done a two. So easy done, undo it. The beauty of crochet. Round the back and pull it through. So I'm going to speed up a little bit now. Some of you may have already got to the end if you know what the stitch is. If you're not sure what the stitch is, just pause me now. You take your time, steadily get round there. The more you do it, the easier it will get. I know my daughter's just decided at 27 she wants to start doing the crochet a little bit more, so she's doing a blanket at the moment. And she's just taking the time. She's a little bit impatient because it won't go as fast as mine, but I said eventually the more you do, the faster you get. I've been doing it for a long time, so of course I'm going to be a little bit faster. And so I think it's confidence as well. Sort of, I'm not worried about going wrong because it's easy to undo it if I go wrong. So it sort of makes me not worry about rushing a little bit like that. See, I rushed too much then and it dropped. Right, where were we? Front. We're a front. We're nearly round. And then you'll see how easy it is to see the stitches. Like I say, the first round's a little bit awkward. But if you can get the first round, the rest is an absolute joy. It's almost like doing a foundation row in the middle of your work. You know, get past that first bit and the rest is easier. I don't think I know anybody who likes foundation rounds or rows. We're nearly at the end. There is still one there. It's really easy to miss that as well because it almost looks like it lines up with that, but it doesn't. Give you a little stretch and you can work out where it is. So our last one is a front one. And then I'm going to slip stitch into the top of that 3 chain. Keep that nice and tight there because you need this line to be really neat. We're going to do 3 chain, 1, 2 and 3. Now if we look, you can see the texture, and you know I said how one sticks up and one's behind. Well, that basically tells you where you're going. This first one we're going to be doing, you can see it sticks up, so it's straight through. It's easy to go into position. So yarn round, through, pick it up, and that's your front post. Now we can't see the next one obviously, so we know it's got to be a back post. A little bit harder to get into, but yarn round, round, and there we go. I much prefer the front post. So we have a front post next, and then we have a back post. Now I'm just going to stop there a second so you can see how the rib line is going to go. If you lose that line, you know that you've not alternated. Now this is where it's just going to carry on the same stitch, the same stitch, the same stitch until we get to here. So this is where you may want to fast forward or sort of pause, or however you're wanting to work with the tutorial. Remember, you can slow me down in settings, don't forget that as well. But we're actually going to do 9 rounds. So we've got 9 rounds of treble. This is our first one. I've got my pen and paper ready to mark it off. Now I said about a stitch marker because this isn't too obvious. I'm sort of used to it, so I know that that's my 3 chain where I'm started. But if you're a little bit sort of unsure, it's easy to miss and you start just going round and you miss your stitch. So I'm just going to pop that in just to remind me that's where I started, but you don't have to do that if you're happy with it. So off we go. This is round 1 of 9. So as I say, I'm going to go faster. So just slow me down if it's too fast, or go ahead of me if I'm too slow. That's the only problem. I do try and keep it sort of neutral to sort of my time, how I work, because there are people out there that are a lot faster than me that are wanting to make things. And there's people who are beginners and they want to take their time, which is a good thing, to get their stitches right. So that's why I say you can alter me in the settings, or you just fast forward me, or you pause me, or sort of rewind, however it works. Because I know you'll all be doing it on different sort of systems as well. I've noticed a lot of people are doing it from their phones. I use my computer a lot for mine. I prefer the computer to the phone. But I've noticed when you can actually have a nosy on how many sort of different systems people are using, you know, whether it be tablet, whether it be computers, etc. And I've noted a lot of people. Now, can you see what's happened there? Can you see that filament's caught? So I'm going to be a little bit naughty and I'm just going to cut it. Be careful when you're cutting things. Make sure you're cutting something that's not going to come undone. So otherwise you get to the end and it comes undone. Because it's a filament, we'll get away with it. So let me carry on with this first round then. But as I was saying, I noticed a lot of people do use their phones to watch. So I'm not quite sure how clear things are on the phone. I've had a look on mine and I think it looks okay. Can you see how the rib is actually forming nicely now? It's quite thick when you're working a rib. I quite like that. I like that density of a stitch. I know the tutorial I've just done is on the popcorn stitch, which I've sort of done basically because my daughter wanted me to do it, and because obviously we're in lockdown and she only lives over the road, but we are limited. You know, I do wave at the kids from the bottom of their garden and things like that, and send them things and drop things on the doorstep, all that. But it's a little bit hard to sort of, I could do with sitting down and showing her in some respects. And I've not got many tutorials like that on my site. So when she asked, I said, okay, I'll do a popcorn one, because she's just mastered her granny squares nicely. And she wanted to do a popcorn stitch. So if anybody wants to have a look at that, it is there. Well, it will be there. I'm going to put it on as soon as I've finished this. I've made the video, I've just not uploaded it. So it will go on just before this one, because I have used a popcorn stitch in one of the Smardoll hats. It was the lamb hat, and I think I used one for an edge of a hat as well. So it is one that if you're not sure about, it might be worth just having a look, because then it'll help you with the others. I absolutely love it as a stitch, because like with this, it gives that thickness, that's sort of more of a 3D sort of feel to your work. Oh, nearly. As I say, these 48 stitches round will feel quite a lot when you're doing these, because it is a harder, well, it's not harder perhaps, it takes longer to go round a post than it does around the top, just going into the top of a stitch. You see how the waviness is starting to dissipate now. Now is that last one I want you to check now, because it's very easy to miss that last stitch, but it is. So I'm going to take the stitch marker out because I'm not going to use a stitch marker from now on. It was just to sort of give you an idea, and I think sort of it helps sometimes, because that would have been so easy to just carry it on and you'd have missed that stitch. And there is a slip stitch join in the top of the 3. I'm going to mark down my 1 round, and I'm going to start with my 3 chain again. So 1, 2 and 3, and as you can see, that's pretty obvious, that's got to be the front, so the next one's got to be the back. You can see how it is forming. I say it's still a little bit wibbly wobbly, but that will go. Off we go. So I might not see some of you now to the end, because you'll be just carrying on round. If you're staying with me, thank you for your patience. Oh look, what have I done there? That stitch doesn't feel right. No, it's okay, it's okay. Sometimes you just do something, oh, it's not quite right, but it was all right. So as I say, I'm speeding up now, so some of you might have paused me or you will have disappeared. So I could actually be completely talking to myself at the moment. Oh dear. What time are we on? 25 minutes. That's not bad. I anticipated towards an hour. I realised that because of this stitch, the tutorial would be a little bit longer, because it does take a little bit more to do. We could be looking at maybe 45 minutes. I think if you're wanting to make hats easily, I would say comfortably, no more than an hour and a half, sort of as sort of more of a beginner base. That's if you're sitting at it constantly. You might not be. I know I quite often do a little bit, then I go off and do something else, then I come back. So timing, I keep dropping these stitches, timing is not always accurate. That's why I don't know how long it took me to do this. I did write the numbers down, then I forgot. It's that back one that catches me out every time. Where are we? It's about halfway around. Now you'll start to see soon that it's curving. You can see a little bit of a curve, but nothing too much just yet. I wouldn't say this is for beginners, but there again, I wouldn't say as a beginner you shouldn't do it. I think you should always try and challenge yourself with new stitches, because that's how you learn, that's how you get better. But you might find it a little bit frustrating to sort of get round the post and sort of get that into your head. I know I did when I first started doing a rib, but have a go, even if you are a beginner. The thing is, don't worry about it sounds like, because on the pattern, I'm just double checking what I actually did. But did I write it as, oh, I wrote it as front post treble. I didn't abbreviate it, so that makes it a little bit easier. But sometimes you'll see it as an abbreviation, and you're like, what on earth is that? And it sounds like a much more complicated stitch than it is. But just think of them, they're just trebles. That's all they are. It's just a treble stitch. It's just that you're going into the other stitch in a slightly different direction. I'm not sure where to put the patterns on my site, because obviously it is a Smardoll hat initially, but it does fit any doll of that head circumference. So I don't know whether to make another category. I think I might just leave them as Smardoll and sort of just point out that it does fit. I mean, the picture I've taken for the pattern is of both of them, so that might help. Right, we're at the end. Slip stitch join, pulled it together nice and tight. So that is 2. So we've still got a way to go. So 3 chain start. 1, 2 and 3. And off we go. So front, back, front, back, front, back, all the way around. After this round, we should hopefully see a good shape coming. It's that back one where the, you know, you wrap your yarn, it sort of sometimes jumps off. So I wrap my yarn, and then if I don't sort of like hold it a little bit, it jumps off. But you'll develop your own little techniques of doing that. Oh, yarn's wrapped around my finger wrong. Saw somebody the other day on YouTube doing a review for a ring that sits on your finger that's supposed to help with your tension. I'm just thinking about how I have mine like that. Not quite sure how that would work. I don't think I'd want to use one. I know the person reviewing it, she got one and she says it wasn't very good, but then the second one was quite good. And she sort of liked it, I think. She gave it quite a good review. But no, I think I'll stick old school. I think it depends where you're holding it, because some people hold their yarn that way. So I suppose then a tension ring might work. But because I'm using my forefinger as my tension, I don't really need that. Because you'll find that either people are middle finger and thumb holders, or you'll find your sort of index finger and thumb. I've always been in the middle finger because it's sort of easier to sort of control that. I don't know why, it's just how I've done it. I think you have to go with what feels comfortable. Don't force yourself, because I know when I first started I could not get the hand hold, and it was basically because I was trying to do it like somebody else did, and that really was not happening for me. So eventually I just kept trying and kept trying and kept trying, and it was weird, it just sort of fell into place. And then next time I came to crochet I couldn't remember how I'd done it, so then I had to sort of try it again, and then after a while it just the positioning held. I'm going to pop one of these on my webpage as well for buying. There's not just for doing. I know you guys who are watching this are going to be making yours, but I am going to be popping one of them on the website, and I'm going to pop another one in my Dollycon box, because fingers crossed Dollycon is going to happen this year. We don't know. It's end of July, Dollycon this year, so there's a chance. It depends, I suppose, on the vaccinations that are going ahead, and sort of how people behave to get these numbers down and things like that. Of course, we're not doing very well here in the UK at the moment as far as numbers for the virus are concerned. Getting quite a bit out of this yarn as well. It is really nice. I'll say it was just the sparkle that caught my eye. They're almost there. You see how easy it would be to miss it though. It's not very obvious. That's why I say if you want to pop a stitch marker in, might be a good idea. So my last one's a front one, and I'm slip stitch joining into my 3. So now you can see we have a shape of the hat. We have 9 rows, well 9 rows in total to do. We've only done 3, I can't count, 3, 6 more to go. That was terrible. What simple maths was I couldn't remember. Amazing how much maths is actually involved in crochet. So 3 chain, 1, 2 and 3, and off we go. Now what I might not do is do all 9. I'm just trying to decide whether to do all 9 with yourselves. I might not, because you don't really need to see me do it, I don't think. But there again, if I've got some of you have gone forward now, so I suppose we're going to have to. So you're going to have to put up with me, I think, I'm afraid. We will be halfway, just under, after this round. Could do perhaps putting some music on and sort of, and not start singing to you, because that would be rather distressing. Ah, I dropped a stitch. Right. Yeah, we can see a proper shape coming now. And again, each hat you do is going to be a different colour combination as well. That is the beauty of the variegation. So yes, it's the same hat, and yes, it's the same colour scheme, but there's just that tiny difference on each one. So it ends up looking, if you've got a lot of dolls with the same hat, it's like just a rainbow of colours. I don't know whether they do this in another colour actually. That was something I had considered having a look at. Oh, pulled through too. I'm trying to do a half treble there. Let me take that one out completely. Start again. It's only one stitch. Right, yarn round, pull through. I was trying to do a half treble. I've just been doing, what did I just make? I can't remember. I can't even remember what I've made. But I was doing a half treble rib anyway. And it's too easy to sort of slip through all three rather than do a treble. I'd considered doing this in a half treble rib, but it would have took, you think 9 rows is enough, it would have took an awful lot more than the 9 rows. So that's why I decided. But I think in the treble it looks okay. It gives it a nice stretch as well. So as much as what, we measured the head sort of approximately 9 with the wig. Obviously most doll head sizes are without wigs. So depending on your wig, you might need to keep an eye on it. But that's why I like making the hats. I do make other clothes for my Smart Doll, but I think because there's so many variants on it, sort of for chest size and things, and different tensions for people, I think it's hard to make a pattern and to be able to guarantee somebody that it's then going to fit their doll perfectly, because I will sort of do it to fit my doll. So it is a little bit difficult for that. Whereas a hat, there isn't going to be a huge amount of difference. Some wigs won't allow hats, of course, but there's not a massive difference then. Caught up a bit. There we go. I can actually hear the stitches when I go quiet, hear the yarn. Gets a little bit monotonous though when it's like that. Last stitch, and then we're going to do a slip stitch join. So now we have 4 rounds, which I need to mark off. So we're almost halfway, and you can see we've got a nice shape, and like I say, it's really thick. The sort of the width there is really thick, and that's what I love about doing a rib. So we have 3, and off we go. This is number 5. When we've got this one done, we're over halfway. I perhaps ought to work out how you do a fast forwardy bit. You can do some of it fast forwarded, can't you? But I'm not exactly sure how you do that. But like I say, it's hard to sort of work for everybody, because I know some people have said they prefer it quieter, sort of less chatter, so perhaps they want music in the background, I'm not sure. But then there's other people that said they quite enjoy me chattering away and probably talking a lot of rubbish most of the time. So it's hard to get that balance, but at least thankfully, because of those option settings, you have a choice, because you can even put me on mute and just watch it. And perhaps pop your own music on, pop some headphones on and listen to something nice and just follow. I think especially with this one, because as soon as you're at a certain point, it's just same thing, same thing. So you don't need to listen to me change stitches or anything. Yeah, I think we might actually be looking at a little bit more than 45 minutes. Keep having a check on the time. I hope you're all making sure you're safe wherever you are in the world. I know sometimes that's easier said than done, isn't it? But as I mentioned earlier, I know we're in national lockdown now. Although they say national lockdown, it does not feel as strict as it was the first time round, but they are saying it is. But people still seem to be pottering around an awful lot. But I think we all need to be sensible. I know my mum's had her first vaccination. I mean, she's going to kill me for this. I'm going to get it wrong. What is she? She's 82. She's 82 this year. Yes, that's right. I'm not even bother because I always get her age wrong. I'm terrible for ages and birth dates and things like that. I'm always getting people wrong. So I don't really sort of think about it as an age thing. So, but yeah, so she's had her first vaccination. My neighbour's had her first vaccination because she's a little bit older again. She's 84. And I know one of my mum's friends have. So there's quite a lot of vaccinations here. And we're only actually in a small village. So I'm quite impressed on how the vaccinations are getting out around here. I know the news is indicating, oh, it's only the first vaccines and that. But we know, as one of my mum's friends, her first one was about 2 weeks ago. So I don't know. We seem to have got them well early. But we're not complaining. I think it's going to be a long time before my age group gets it. I know I've heard 2 different versions. Some are saying July, some are saying end of April. We're back around already, so that's number 5. So mark number 5 down. And number 6. So we have 4 more rounds to go basically. So 1, 2 and 3. And off we go again. So I was saying it'll be a while before we actually get ours. But they've got to work through it somehow. I can't imagine what a nightmare logistically it is to get all these vaccines out for people. I know people are criticising them, but I can't say as I'd want the job. It must be a nightmare. I know my daughter's got to rearrange her wedding again. So she's got to sort that out. So I think we're going to sort of wait until hopefully the whole country's vaccinated. So she might be waiting to sort of early next year, I think she's considering, or very late this year. At least we've got everything prepared and all the people are willing to sort of change the dates, and we've got the wedding dress, we've got everything really. It's just getting that venue, because they can't do it because of the limitations. Which is fair enough. We're definitely not going to get that 45. I said 45 minutes, I'm on 41. So it is going to be, apologies for quite a long video. But we can actually see we've got a proper little hat coming now. And I think it is worth it. Worth it having that bit of patience. And again, if you don't want to sort of sit and watch me do it, you can sort of maybe watch first time, sort of fast forward a bit. And then if you do want to get the pattern, as I say, I will pop it up there on the website this afternoon. And I'll put the link in just below. Now, there is a small charge for my patterns now. I do have some on there that are still a penny, so I do have some offer ones. And I'm on average, if it's a YouTube one, they're about £1.20. But I have to put that on because I have found the ones that are a penny. I know I think, oh, I could earn a penny. It's because I couldn't put it down as a free one. But PayPal nicely still take a fee off it, off 1p. So it's actually £0 that goes into the account. So yes, you do get a free pattern. Free pattern as far as I'm concerned. But they are penny patterns on there. So there's a few with those cheap ones. But on average, my patterns go from about £1.20 for the YouTube versions up to maybe £1.90 and £2.20 if it's a really complicated one. If there's ever a problem with any of your patterns as well, please let me know, because, you know, I'm typing them up here. Sometimes errors are made. So if I've made an error, I need to know, because I need to sort of alter the pattern. And apart from the fact then, for other people, it's nice. And what I'll do anyway, if there's a wrong one, I will alter it, and then I'll just send you a fresh one anyway. Usually when I've typed them out like this, I notice myself while I'm doing it for you guys if there's a problem. We're almost round on this one. That's a bit of doll hair in there. I think that was Hannah's. It looked a little bit more sparkly. It's got a little bit more of a shine to it than Shitosi's. Shitosi's is going a bit dull actually. I really would have loved to have got her a new wig, but this is the last one before we do slip stitch. Let me just do that first and then I'll carry on talking about the wig. Oh, split the stitch, be careful. Off we go. So that is 6, 7, 8, 9. We only have 3 more. So 3 chain, 1, 2 and 3. Yeah, as I was saying, I would love a new wig for Shitosi, but they're never available. I know they've done, again, all the world changes at the moment, things are happening and making it difficult for companies to get things done, but I know that they are altering things around at the Mirai store, and things are getting changed and updated, and hopefully we'll get to see some wigs soon, because I would like one for Shitosi, because it's looking a bit, I know it's grey, but it's looking a bit dull, and I have chopped a little bit off the long side bits just to make them look a little bit better. Still not convinced. I'm actually considering chopping them off completely, so she'll just have a sort of a short grey bob, which does suit her. Oh, but I didn't really know how to look after the wigs when I first got them, and I sort of overbrushed them and things like that, whereas now I have it's just like a spray that sort of smooths it down. I can't think what they're called. It's like a hair care type spray that you can get, and it does help, and don't overbrush them. I know some people use toothbrushes, but I've not tried that. I know some of the Smardoll owners out there, they've got these dolls and their wigs are just so beautiful, really shiny, and I just don't know how you do it. I know my last girl, because she's the redhead and it's really long hair, I'm sort of desperately not touching it unless I have to. Perhaps it's also hats don't help, because my girl's obviously demonstration pieces, so I keep trying the hats on and off when I'm making a new hat, and I suppose that doesn't do the hair much good either. Just over halfway for this round. So 48 stitches seems such a long way round when you're doing it like this. If you were just doing double crochets, they'd feel like they were flying. Few more to go. You can see we're nearly round. That would look quite a funny hat if we just did it sort of just at the sides. Might be something to think about. Any problem with my brain, I'm making one thing and then I'm seeing something else while I'm making it. I'm trying to stay a little bit central. I'm trying to sort of keep away from my camera as well, because I keep knocking it. I've actually done quite well today. I've not knocked it yet. So it means I'm a bit further over here, and I've got to try and keep over there. So I'm a little bit twisted while I'm doing this. I could do with investing in a better stand, so it's sort of over me, rather than sat at the side of me, something like that, or something that clips to the desk. Right, a couple more rounds for our number 7 to be finished. Yeah, last one for round 7. Now at this point it might be worth trying it on your doll. I know I need 9 rounds because I know my tension's relatively tight. Now if your yarn is maybe slightly thicker, because as much as I refer to double knit yarn, people are using different yarns, 3 chain, and off we go again. So if you're, I think it's a worsted weight, I'm not sure what worsted weight is. I think it's a cross between our double knit and Aran, which means it's a little bit thicker. So if you've got a slightly thicker yarn, or your tension is slightly looser, there's a good chance that you might almost be there. I mean, this is round 8. This could be your last round. So you need to try it on your dolls, make sure that you've got the right tension. I know a few people have sort of sent me pictures where they've tried different yarns, and they've told me, you know, that they've had sort of maybe do a different hook size, or that they only had a certain yarn, so they tried it with it, but it sort of might make it a little bit smaller or a little bit bigger. So there's different variations there, so keep trying it on the doll. Nope, I did it again. So as I say, we're on round 8 now, so we're almost there. There's only one more round after this, and then there's just one round of double crochets, and that is it, apart from our pom-pom, of course. Now, I'm not going to make a pom-pom for you. I've done pom-poms on my other tutorials. If you have one of these Clover or similar pom-pom makers, you'll have the instructions on your packaging anyway. But I do think they are definitely worth the investment. Definitely worth the investment. I mean, I can make pom-poms old school, but they're not as tight and they're not as sort of dense. Whereas if you use the pom-pom maker, it's a much denser pom-pom. So I think it gives more impact. I mean, this one size-wise, it says 35 there. I thought it said somewhere about its sort of diameter. I know you can get, like I said, there's different ones on the box. It does say they usually come in a pack of 2. This is one out of the mid-size pack that I've got, but I got some tiny ones as well, which are quite nice. Not tiny enough for my minis. I mean, it would be ridiculous trying to do it on one of those for some of the sizes. I thought I'd gone past it then because I thought that stuck up. But I would invest in one. Don't get these 2-part ones, as in they're just too. I've got some, I'll show you in a minute. They're really hard to work with. I think the Clover is definitely the best, unless you know of another one. If you do, let me know, because I do make quite a lot of pom-poms. And you want something that's going to be easy to manipulate, especially if you've got a lot to do. Oh, nearly did 2 back ones then. Like I said, but thankfully you can actually see, so I could see it was sticking up before I actually did it. Couple more stitches to go, and then that will be round 8. So we've literally got just one more. See, you stuck by it, you did it. Well, you might not have, you might have fast forwarded me, but we've got there. One more stitch before we finish round 8. Slip stitch join, and we're on our last one. 1, 2 and 3. Here we go. So can you see that's quite neat, because I've kept that sort of line really tight. My chains are tight every time. So this is our last round. Yeah, we're 52 minutes now, so we'll say an hour. We'll say an hour. Let's see when it comes to, mind you, I hope it's not going to take me more than 10 minutes to do one round. It shouldn't take that long. You don't have to do the final double crochet round either if you don't want. I just thought it sort of gives an edge to the hat. But some hats, if as a person, if you bought a hat that's a ribbed one, sometimes they don't have an edge. They just finish as the rib. So you can just finish as the rib. So you don't have to do that last bit if you don't want to. I feel it also tightens it in a little bit. So again, that depends on your doll. Definitely going to have to put this camera out and getting backaches out like this. I mean, it is my phone that I do the filming on, and I must admit it does really well. Really pleased with it. One day I will get a proper camera. Not that I would know what to buy. I think that is the problem. My phone has been easy. So that is why I've done it with my phone. I understand what that does. If I got a phone with a camera with all its attachments and gadgets and different sort of settings and things, it would drive me mad. I'd need somebody to sit there and show me, because I do not like reading instructions. Ooh, we're nearly there. For some reason my crochet hook feels a little bit sticky at the end, and I don't know why. That's another thing, you should sort of keep your hooks clean. It's worth either use a baby wipe and give them a wipe down, because your fingers do get sort of greasy without you even realising, or if you've touched something, which I don't think I have, because I was cleaning up before I started doing this, so my hands had been in water. But yes, just feel like something's sticking. But as I say, you can wash them in soapy water if they're these metal ones, or you can probably wash all of them in soapy water. Just make sure they're nice and dry if they're ones with fancy handles and things. So you don't want your handles coming loose or anything. Last few stitches. Just speed up towards the end, get excited. Last stitch of our rib. So we're going to just slip stitch into the top, and I'm just going to do one chain. It doesn't count as anything, it's just a stitch. It's just a chain to position me, and I'm just going to do one double crochet into every single, look how fast the double crochet is in comparison, every single one of those trebles. So it's the tops we're going in now, we're not going round anything, we're just going in the top. Can you see how it sort of just finishes it off in comparison? That's the two sides. That's with, obviously, with RDC, and that is without. What did I say about an hour? Look at that, eh? We're on 56 minutes. So by the time we get round, and by the time I'm going to show you those other pom-poms, check where I am now. It's too easy. You keep going round and round and round and round if you're doing these, if you don't keep an eye on where you are. Couple more to go. Well, a bit more than a couple, maybe 12, something like that, just as a guess. And so this is an optional round. I personally just think it finishes it off, but you don't have to do it. It does tighten it, so if you need that little bit of extra stretch, it might not be worth doing. Right, slip stitch. Finished! Yay! So that is our hat. There we go. That is a lovely little hat. We sort of sit it up like that, so it's next to the other one. Let's pop it on Shitosi and just double check the sizing there. I think that's a nice fit, depending on how you're wanting it to sit on her head. I was just going to say about the I'll just drop something on the floor, about the other pom-pom makers. You can get these, so I've got those because I've not got a bigger clover one, but as soon as I do get a bigger clover one, they're going. I really do not like doing them, and so I can't recommend them or similar any higher. I just think they're very easy to use when you're creating a pom-pom. They open up nicely. You just fill in your both sides, together, yarn round, and it just comes apart. It's brilliant. Please read the instructions on that though. So that is it. We are at the end. Like I said, Cheese hair's a bit of a mess now. She can't see out of her eyes. Can't see through her hair. I'm the same at the moment. I do need to give my sort of fringe a trim because I'm getting a little bit like this, so it's getting in my eyes. But I just wanted to show you both dolls. It fits nice and comfy. So I'm hoping to see a couple of these pullip style dolls with some of these hats as well. if you enjoyed that, and if you did it, please place a comment. If you've got any other suggestions, again, pop a comment down there. Thank you very much for watching. Please like, subscribe and share, and don't forget to click the notification bell if you do want to see any of my future work. So thank you for watching from me and the girls, and we'll see you soon. Bye.